Hello again, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for Thursday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Moving on to the fire danger chart here, the first graphic of today's broadcast. Got some areas of high fire danger, barely getting in the high zone there over the upper Yukon Valley area, again, where it's pretty much been all summer there around the Yukon-Porcupine River convergence zone in there. And if you use your imagination, some high fire danger here on the western Arctic coast there, in and around the greater Point Lay area. And also it looks like here in the Noatak Valley as well. Otherwise, that's about it. Certainly not down to the South Buckland, where they had a fair amount of rain today there. And of course, rain falling across much of the interior today. And satellite imagery showing all the clouds associated with that rain. Got push of moisture right through here into the southwest interior areas, and a solid cloud bank from the Kuskokwim Valley eastward into the, well, all the way over into the border area there, right across Copper River Basin. And a little bit of moisture trying to work into the panhandle, mainly in the northern areas, but there were some showers around even the southern part during the day today, although very isolated down there. Actually some sunshine, temperatures pushing 70 in some locations, such as Klawock had 68 degrees at 3 p.m. this afternoon. So not a bad day down there. Otherwise, up here in the interior, temperatures 40-mile country getting maybe the lower to mid-60s, and that's about it. Upper Yukon Valley, lower 50s. And some dry conditions back to the northwest there, but chilly enough temperatures, some light snow observed with the fog throughout the afternoon up there at central Arctic coast, a place formerly known as Barrow. Eastern Arctic coast, clouds and fog, but really not much in the way of any precipitation, although a little breezy up there. Small craft advisories for the eastern Beaufort, or the eastern marine zone there, the Beaufort Sea coastline. 25-knot winds, and again, clouds here into the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island, low pressure out over the Bering Sea just west of the Pribilofs, that bringing some rain, fog, and of course clouds to the Pribilof Islands, St. Paul and St. George. Next system back out through here developing, and that's pushing some rain and clouds right up to the central Aleutian areas this afternoon. Another batch of moisture streaming eastward across the Fox Islands and along and south of the Alaska Peninsula on up into Bristol Bay, yet another band you can see with general low pressure in the Bering Sea. Southwest flow coming up to the southeast of the low center. Southwest flow bringing all that moisture right on in, especially to the southern interior. Rainfall today, not all that heavy, but generally kind of light and persistent. 0.15 of an inch falling at Talkeetna, for example, and anywhere rainfall amounts mostly less than 0.2 of an inch here across south central Alaska into the North Gulf Coast, Kenai Peninsula areas. A little bit heavier out here to the southwest, associated with that front pushing into the interior there, where Kalskag, Marshall, Russian Mission all picked up 1/4 of an inch of rain during the day today, 12-hour period ending at 3 p.m. And some showers on up to the north there, eastward across the Tanana Valley to the 40-mile country, and even up toward Arctic Village. They picked up about 1/10 of an inch of precipitation today with some shower activity there, but generally dry back to the west, and then the light snow there in the central Arctic coast with maybe some fog on the east side. And then the weak low out here over the Bering Sea, 999 millibars there just west of the Pribilofs. That brought clouds, rain, and fog, and St. Paul picking up about 0.11 of an inch today. So really not all that heavy. Some showers down there around Kodiak, and not really, just mostly just clouds here with the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, with the main rain back with that warm front just nudging northward there toward the Adak and Atka area, and scattered showers across the northern panhandle, again clearing out as you head south with those temperatures rising to near 70 this afternoon, especially near Klawock. And for tonight, that'll pretty much be the same pattern. Maybe I call it isolated showers, but increasing chance of rain along the north coast from roughly, say, just north of Sitka up to Elfin Cove. Looks like periods of light rain fog for Yakutat, back to the west into Prince William Sound, into the western Copper River Basin there, and then back to the northwest along this trough from Knik Arm, Palmer. Look for rain tonight across Wasilla, the Susitna Valley, Talkeetna, Trapper Creek, and those areas. Back to the northwest there toward the low center, 1,005 millibar, pretty weak. Not much of a gradient with that at all to speak of, so winds will be light. Small craft advisories on the eastern Arctic coast will end tonight, and it'll be basically dry up there. No change for the central coast, still maybe some light snow, very light snow, flurries, fog, nothing measurable at all. And this front pushing more rain into the southwest coast, back across Bristol Bay, mostly western Bristol Bay, cutting off, say, Igigik, possibly some rain into King Salmon, but definitely rain for the peninsula here, turning to showers over the Fox Islands, and then some more rain with yet another 995 millibar low there south of roughly Amchitka Island, but close enough to spread rain with that trough up into Adak and Atka. And then the outlook for Friday, that develops a little bit more, 997 millibars now, with the warm front pushing rain, widespread area of rain, a pretty good rain shield with this warm front spreading all the way to southern or southwest Kodiak Island by the late afternoon. Otherwise, look for some scattered showers until that arrives. Maybe some clearing early on, especially on the east side of the island with a little bit more west-southwest flow. Probably will see some sun breaks, hopefully around Kodiak State Airport up to Helsinki. And Southern Cook Inlet, same thing, could see a few sun breaks, otherwise mostly cloudy, scattered showers to sit in the valley. Into Prince William Sound, those tend to increase. Definitely rain and showers along this trough. Pretty solid line there from the northwest valleys across the central interior areas. And even in the 40-mile country, Upper Tanana Valley, Fairbanks, occasional rain, especially along and south of the White Mountains, drier to the north, maybe some sun breaks upper Yukon Valley. And then this trough extending down brings a little bit more in the way of precipitation to the panhandle during the day tomorrow than what you saw today, especially down to the south, so that'll cool the temperatures off a little bit. Mixed precipitation possible, light eastern Arctic coast. And this low back in the northwest keeps it cloudy and unsettled with some showers around that location, maybe as far east as the western Koyukuk Valley, and then some rain and showers along that trough extending down across Norton Sound into the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. Moving on to the first day of the weekend, shaping up like this. We'll see that system here tracks northeastward right across the Pribilof, so wet conditions there. A little breezy at times in advance of the front, but the front will be pushing onto the southwest coast. Looks like making landfall roughly around midday into the early afternoon. Fair amount of rain with this system, good southwest flow, a lot of moisture with it, so moderate amounts of rain falling into Bristol Bay, especially Dillingham, Togiak, across the Kilburg-Auckland Mountains into the Yukon and Kuskokwim Deltas. A few breaks in advance of that, mostly cloudy and showers. That about sums it up here for much of the central interior, down across the Copper River Basin, mostly cloudy, scattered showers, I'll call it for the Prince William Sound area, North Gulf Coast into Cook Inlet and the Susitna Valley, as well as with that 1,005 millibar low back to the northwest there, call it definitely some showers will be in the area there for those locations. And kind of really, it's going to be hard pressed to find any widespread clearing at all, maybe a few sun breaks. So any sun you do see on Saturday anywhere in the state, consider it a bonus. We've got this trough bringing a batch of rain into the central and south coastal areas of the Panhandle. Maybe call it cloudy over the inland areas and isolated showers up around mostly north of Juneau to Skagway and Haines. But this system here, definitely the bigger rain producer. Another trough bringing rain and showers, kind of an enhancement of that condition in toward the central Aleutians, and of course cloudy IFR type of day for the Pribilofs. Looking at the low temperatures for tonight, upper 40s to lower 50s for the southeast coast here, mid 40s Copper River Basin, mid to upper 40s for the central eastern Tanana Valley, a little chillier for the 40-mile country around Eagle, into the upper Yukon Valley, lower 40s, mid 30s for the eastern Brooks Range there, with lower 30s for the central and eastern Arctic coast, and upper 40s to near 50 for the western areas, Kotzebue, all the way out to the southwest coast, upper 40s for the Pribilofs, as well as the Aleutians. And for your highs tomorrow, maybe a little bit milder than what you saw this afternoon, where temperatures are mostly in the lower 30s, lower to mid 30s, 34 at Barrow and Kaparik, both this afternoon, maybe pushing up closer to 40. Call it 40s for the north slope there, 50s mid to upper for the Brooks Range, or actually into the Yukon Kuskokwim Valley areas, mid 50s for the Kobuk Valley, Kotzebue Sound, and maybe some lower 60s showing up here for in the afternoon. We get a little bit of clearing at all, hopefully, for the Susitna Valley and into the Cook Inlet area there in the Kenai Peninsula. Otherwise, mostly in the 55 to 60 degree range, a little cooler in the Bering Sea. Southeast coast pushing near 60, so definitely down from what you saw today there across Prince of Wales Island. And then for the lows for Saturday morning, upper 40s to lower 50s here in the Panhandle, mostly in the 40s, all in the 40s, maybe a few lower 50s, southern Alaska, mid 40s, cool into the 30s for the Brooks Range on out to the Arctic coast. And your highs on Saturday, lower 60s, south central Alaska, near 60 for the upper Yukon Valley, lower 60s for the southern Panhandle, excuse me, and then near 40 for your highs on the eastern Arctic coast, lower 40s, so a little bit of a warm up there along the central Arctic coast, back to the west near 50, 55 for Kotzebue, and mid to upper 50s here for the western interior, lower 50s for the Pribilofs, and mid 50s for the Aleutians.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving on to flying weather, we've got this dog-shaped area of IFR here over the southern interior, and otherwise mostly marginal VFR all the way up into the Kobuk, Koyukuk, and upper Yukon valleys, and then looks like some VFR there along and south of the Brooks Range, back to marginal on the north slope to IFR on most of the Arctic coast. Lots of IFR here for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians right up to the southwest coast and the Bering Strait, all of the Alaska Peninsula, and most of the Aleutians, IFR here. Eastern Gulf of Alaska right up to the coastal areas of the Panhandle, otherwise marginal inland. And then for Friday afternoon, marginal VFR here for the southeast coast with some IFR over toward the eastern border, as well as up toward Chilkoot and White Pass. Otherwise marginal VFR, Prince William Sound, North Gulf Coast, up into the Coast Range, nextly the Wrangell Mountains, and up into the Alaska Range. Looks like becoming VFR tomorrow afternoon, Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula, as well as the Kuskokwim Valley, northeast Bristol Bay, Kodiak State Airport, and marginal here across the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, most of Bristol Bay, IFR there, south side of the Seward Peninsula, to St. Lawrence Island, eastern Beaufort Sea coast, IFR, and a big chunk of IFR here out over the southern Bering Sea, all the way to the Alaska Peninsula and westward to Amchitka Island. And then for Saturday morning, IFR through the Bering Strait to Gamble, and from Nunivak Island southwestward to Adak and Atka, IFR, Alaska Peninsula, up into the Kodiak Island area with some fair amounts of VFR over the eastern and southern interior of the state, areas of marginal VFR for the Panhandle. In the afternoon, that becomes solid marginal VFR there for the southeast coast. North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, also marginal IFR pushing into Bristol Bay inland there, right up to the possibly southern Kuskokwim Valley. More likely marginal VFR there with good IFR, or good VFR here, northern Cook Inlet, Susitna Valley, most of the interior, and IFR, eastern Beaufort Sea coast, and marginal to IFR for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians again. Anatuvik and Adigan, both starting out VFR, and it looks like some moisture will move northward and build in the afternoon for marginal VFR conditions for both those passes. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR, trending toward VFR throughout the day, and rainy though, probably staying marginal throughout the day Friday. Windy IFR becoming marginal VFR in the afternoon. Isabel starting out IFR and a gradual improvement throughout the day as well. Mentasta, though, occasionally marginal. And for Tanita, IFR to start, better conditions in the afternoon, hopefully reaching VFR by mid to late afternoon. And Portage, same trend, IFR to start, and VFR hopefully, maybe it'll only become marginal, but I think it'll be VFR by the latter part of the day. And for Chilcoot and White, IFR. Freezing level 6,000 feet here over the interior, 8 to 10 over the panhandle, and the Aleutians icing. Areas of here over the south central area to the North Gulf Coast, some considerate moderate in the orange shaded areas here. Another batch sliding up into Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula, and then tapering off out to the west. Really none to speak of up north. Jet stream ridging tomorrow in across southwest interior, northwesterly sailing southeastward here. Right across south central Alaska, a trough affecting the Arctic coast and North Slope, 9,000 foot winds, southwesterlies, 40 to 50 knots south of the Alaska Peninsula, just clipping the southern part of Kodiak Island. You see much lighter here, Bristol Bay and the North Gulf Coast, then back up to 20, 25 southern interior, lighter again up to the north, and 40 knot southerlies for the Dutch Harbor, Unalaska area, and westerlies 10 to 15, maybe up to 25 coming into the Panhandle. And that same pattern also at 3,000 feet, 15 to 20, 25 knot winds off the coast there. Pretty light southern Alaska, 15 to 20 across the Alaska Range and the 40-mile country. Otherwise, pretty light and variable winds in the north. And out for the Aleutians, southwesterlies 25 to 30. That next big low near the central Aleutians, northerlies 20 to 25 on the back side of that. And with the trough right through here, really not much in the way of any significant winds through the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island area. Turbulence-wise, look for light to isolated moderate chop below 5,000 feet. Kodiak Island here, back along and in the lee side of the Alaska Range. The Fox Islands there to about Atka Island, and also for the Pribilofs. And after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Delphinus the dolphin.
Welcome to Stargazers. I'm Dean Regas, astronomer from the Cincinnati Observatory.
And I'm James Albury, director of the Kika Silva Pla Planetarium in Gainesville, Florida. Now that we're well into the summer months, this is a wonderful time to get outside with the family and gaze at the stars.
That's right, James. We always encourage our fellow stargazers to enjoy the night sky together with their families. You can make it a tradition, and the summer sky is rich with star patterns you can see with the naked eye.
We always talk about the big constellations like Cygnus, Aquila, and Lyra. However, there's a tiny little constellation in the same part of the sky that you've probably always seen, but never knew its name or its story.
That constellation is Delphinus the dolphin. Let's show you. Okay, we have our skies set up for just after sunset facing east. High in the sky, you can see the familiar pattern of the summer triangle. The brightest star of the group is Vega, and it's near the top of the triangle.
Then, down and to the right of Vega is the bright star Altair, and down and to the left of Vega is Deneb. These three stars will help you find Delphinus the dolphin.
If you draw a line between Deneb and Altair, below it, almost halfway between the two stars, is a small diamond-shaped constellation made up of 5 stars. If you have trouble seeing it at first, you can use a technique known as averted vision. Simply look at Altair, and in your peripheral vision, you can see the small grouping of stars that make up Delphinus.
My favorite story of Delphinus involves a singer and poet named Arion. He was so skilled at playing the harp and had such an amazing singing voice that it made him very popular during the 7th century BC.
Arion was so popular that he had concerts throughout the Mediterranean. However, one day, on his way home to Greece after a gig in southern Italy, the sailors on his ship conspired against him. They plotted to kill him and take the money he'd earned.
That's not very nice.
No, it wasn't. Now, finding himself surrounded, Arion begged the sailors to allow him to sing one last song. Fortunately for Arion, the sailors allowed this, and he performed one of the best songs of his life.
While Arion played his harp and sang, his music attracted several dolphins to the ship. They swam alongside the ship as Arion performed, and in a daring leap of faith, Arion threw himself overboard.
One of the dolphins rescued Arion and carried him all the way back to Greece, saving his life. In gratitude to the dolphin, Apollo, the god of music and poetry, placed an image of the dolphin in the sky among the stars of the Milky Way, and also placed an image of Arion's harp, Lyra, in the same region.
All right, let's take a closer look at the stars that make up Delphinus. Okay, we again have our sky set up for any night this week, just after sunset. As we zoom in on Delphinus, you can see 5 stars that make up the body and tail of the dolphin. The 4 stars making the body of the dolphin are also known as Job's coffin. The star on the far left is Al-Salib, also known as Gamma Delphini. It's a binary star system 101 light-years from us.
Traveling clockwise, we have Alpha and Beta Delphini. These stars also have the names Suolocene and Rotanev, which are Nicholas and Venator spelled backwards. These are the Latinized names in honor of the 19th century director of the Palermo Observatory who snuck his name onto these stars. Very crafty.
Yeah. Suolocene is 240 light-years away, and Rotanev is 97 light-years distant. The last star in the body of Delphinus is Al-Uqud, also known as Delta Delphini, and it's a binary star system 223 light-years away.
And lastly, we have Epsilon Delphini, making Delphinus's tail. This star is appropriately called Deneb Dolphim, meaning Deneb as the tail, and Dolphim meaning dolphin. It's a solitary blue-white giant star 330 light-years away and over 670 times as bright as our sun.
So there you have it, a daring and dazzling dolphin to grace your summer nights.
It's definitely a reason to keep looking up.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Looking at the sea ice analysis for today. Really, we're still looking at a zone of heavier ice right through here. Main ice pack back up or a little bit to the south of that. And then a more extensive area of heavier ice. It's been here most of the month of August, actually July as well, extending down toward the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline here, but this area is starting to get pretty thin now from what it has been, and open water now making its way westward north of this ice field. And over the next 5 or 6 days, a continuation of this general slow thaw trend. And going on to coastal water forecast for the southeast coast here, west winds 15 knots, seas running roughly about 6 feet, a little windier on the north coast with west winds at 20, south winds 20 knots for Lynn Canal, and southeast 20 for Stevens Passage, southeast 15 for Clarence Strait. Outlook for Saturday, first day of the weekend, pretty light winds for Lynn Canal now, still south, but only 10 knots, 2-foot sea, south 15, Stevens Passage, and northwest 15 for Clarence Strait. And we've got westerly winds, 15 knots for most of the coastline here with 7 to 9-foot seas, a little lighter up north, west at 10. Friday, Prince William Sound, light northerlies, seas 2 feet, west 20. Eastern North Gulf Coast, west side, small craft advisories, 25-knot winds out of the west, west 20 for both the Barren Islands and Kamishak Bay, southwest 20 for Southern Cook Inlet, and 15 knots north of the Forelands. South winds, 10 knots here for Cook Inlet on Saturday, southeast 15 for Kamishak Bay, light winds for the Barrens, as well as the North Gulf Coast, south to southwest at 10 knots. Also for Prince William Sound, pretty light wind day coming up for these zones on Saturday. And for Kodiak, west-southwest, 20 knots, southwest 20, Sitkinak to Castle Cape to Cape Sarachev, small craft advisories, south winds 25, seas 8 feet. North of the peninsula there, south 15, Bristol Bay, southwest 15. And for the Saturday outlook, Bristol Bay, southwest 20, small craft advisories for the Alaska Peninsula, southwest 25 to 30. 30-knot winds right up to Sitkinak, small craft advisories east side of Kodiak, and 15 knots for Shelikof Strait. Out in the Aleutians, the far western zones, light winds north 15 tomorrow, small craft advisories here from about Amchitka Island in across the AKwx area, except north of the islands there in that zone, just east 20, and then 20 to 25 from the southeast, which are mostly 25 knots for the Fox Islands. Outlook for Saturday, south to southwest, 25 to 30 knots there for the eastern Aleutians. West 25, 4 to 9 foot seas for Adak and Atka. And light north to northwest breezes at 15 there for the areas west of Adak out to Shemya. Southwest coast, south to southwest 15 knots tomorrow. And for the Pribilofs, light southwest breeze at 15, seas 7 feet. Northeast 15 for St. Matthew Island. Light winds for St. Lawrence Island, but southwest 20 for Norton Sound. Those drop off to about 10 knots on Saturday there. Light east winds for St. Lawrence Island. East-southeast 20 along the southwest coast. South 20 for the Pribilofs. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast, east 15 here, much of the area. 20 knots tomorrow. Small craft advisory out today into tonight here for that zone, but then down to 20 knots tomorrow. And 15 knots here down to Cape Thompson. Real light northerlies from Cape Thompson on south. And then the outlook for Saturday, northwest at 10 from Wales, safe up to Cape Thompson, a little more northerly up to Cape Beaufort. And then east 15, western and central coast, light north to northeasterlies at 10 knots for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. For tonight, band of rain associated with this trough here from this weak low near the Seward Peninsula, and the rain and showers, mostly rain or occasional rain, light rain, nothing too terribly heavy here. Into Prince William Sound, Susitna Valley, scattered showers, Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula, mostly dry, hopefully dry, becoming dry for Kodiak, and increasing chances of rain on the north coast of the Panhandle. And then for tomorrow, that shifts up to the northeast. It looks kind of wet and cloudy there for the Tanana Valley into the Copper River Basin. More clouds and rain for the Panhandle. Next system, widespread area of rain with it. A lot of moisture coming up with that warm front. Rain spreading all the way out in advance into southern Kodiak Island. And then on Saturday, that tracks up to the northeast there and brings moderate amounts of rain, maybe even locally heavy at times in some areas, across the southwest coast and inland down to the Alaska Peninsula. Mostly cloudy, scattered showers across much of interior Alaska, and another batch of rain slides on into the southeast coast. Thank you for joining us.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.